Okay, in this video, this is going to be kind of canning basics. I've got some green beans here from our garden that I want to can and save for later, and they're fresh green beans, and so you need to use what's called a pressure canner. And this is a combination pressure canner, pressure cooker, and it's got a gauge up top here that tells you the pressure. For general canning like jams and marmalades and stuff like that, that has acids and sugars in it, you just do a regular water bath. So the boiling point of water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're going to just seal your jars up with your foodstuffs that are high in acid, and you put them in a water bath, and that'll can them. With fresh vegetables you can't do that because it's got to get hotter than that in order to preserve the fresh foods more successfully without contracting botulism. And so therefore you need a pressure canner that will heat and pressurize the contents and sterilize the contents as well at 240 degrees Fahrenheit. So things like potatoes, fresh vegetables, meats, some seafoods, you need to use a pressure canner. Now you can do both jams and marmalades and fruits and tomatoes that are high in acid in a pressure canner, but you cannot do fresh vegetables in a water bath. Okay, so you can do both types of foodstuffs in a pressure canner, but you can only do fruits and vegetables that are high in acid like tomatoes and such in a water bath, or pickles and such like that in a water bath. So we're going to explore some pressure canning, and then I'll probably demo a little bit of the water bath method. Okay, first you'll want to boil your jars for about 10 minutes to sterilize them, and then we'll remove these from the hot water and just let them cool down. But it's very important to sterilize your jars first. Okay, and then you'll want to hot pack your sterilized jars with your beans, and you want to leave about an inch of a headspace from the top. These are just raw green beans from the garden. And hot pack just means I'm going to take a boiling water and I want to pour this in here up to about the lid or to the lip of the threads. Some more hot water here. So then I want to take my shim and just make sure that air bubbles are out. Oops. And then once the air bubbles are out, then I want to take my lids and set on top. And I put my boiling water on the lids. They've cooled down a bit so I can handle them. But it's kind of, if anything, you can rinse them off. You don't really need to sterilize the lids. And you just want to hand tighten the rings. Okay, now these are all hot packed and they're ready to be put into the pressure canner. Alright, so you'll want to fill your pressure canner with 3 quarts of water. Alright, so you'll want to place your jars in your pressure canner, and they shouldn't be touching to avoid breakage. And I only have 3 half-pint jars, so I'm going to need these at a pressure of 11 pounds for approximately 20 minutes. Alright, so before I do all that, I gotta obviously put the lid on and turn it on. So the way this works, I have to match up the arrows. Yep, okay, there we go. And then it's gonna lock. That's locking it in. There's a rubber gasket inside the lid there that's gonna seal it tight. And then I'm gonna turn on the heat. Turn it on about medium high. And then I want steady steam to come out the vent here for about 10 minutes. And then I'm gonna put the pressure regulator on top of here, and then the release valve is gonna pop up when there's enough pressure building up. And then I want to keep an eye on the gauge here, and I want to reduce the heat right before it hits 10 so that it rests about 11. If it rests between 11 and 12, that'll be just fine. And then I'm gonna set my kitchen timer for about 20 minutes, and then when I'm done with that, when it goes off, I'm going to remove this from the heat and let everything decompress, slow down, and cool. I will not open this until the gauge is at 0. So, I'm just going to wait for this to boil or start to steam. Alright, we got some pretty good steam here, so I'm going to put the regulator on. And over here, the vent lock is popped up, and now the gauge will eventually start to climb to the appropriate pressure we need. Okay, so the gauge is almost where we need to start to turn down the heat. Okay, so I turned the heat down to very low, and hopefully the pressure will keep at about 10 or 11 there. We'll see if it maintains. I may have to turn up just a little bit because we want it at 11. I think it'll creep there, and we'll be good if it holds there. And then we'll put the timer on for 20 minutes. So it looks like it's holding steady at about 11. Again, like I said, if it fluctuates between 11 and 12, I'm going to be okay with that. And then I got the timer on for 20 minutes. And then once it goes off, we're going to remove it from the heat and just let everything cool down slowly. The this vent here that's popped up right there, that should go down. The gauge should go all the way down. Things should cool off before we open this pressure canner, just for our safety reasons. And then we'll remove the canned beans. Okay, let's turn off the heat here, and then I'm going to remove it from the heat carefully. It's heavy pot. And then we want the gauge to and the vent plug to everything to just cool down. Everything just to cool down. And when this gets to 0, the dial gauge gets to 0 and the vent plug goes down, then we'll carefully open the pressure canner and remove our cans. Now, as this cools down, what will happen is that the lids on the cans will seal, so they'll go and they'll pop, and the suction will lock it in there, and then hopefully that'll happen, and then we will have a good seal for our fresh green beans. Alright, so everything is shut down, cooled down, and I've got my canning tongs to pull out the bottles. It's still going to be pretty hot in here, but I'm going to carefully undo the lid and lift up the lid. Just place that aside. The steam, not a heat, and we're going to take one. Set it down, and then what I'm going to do is take another. It seems like only one of them actually sealed. We'll give it, like, supposed to let these sit and cool for like 24 hours, and that should help these seal. This one sealed pretty good. There's a depression in there, dipped, it sucked in, and then this one here, these two here didn't seem to seal. And if they don't seal, what you can always do is you can always retry. You can always do it again, depending on what it is that you are canning. So that's pretty much it with the pressure canner for the low acid or no acid foodstuffs. You can can meat using a pressure canner. You can can mushrooms. You can can beets, all kinds of different vegetables that have low acid. Tomatoes are different because they have acid in them. Fruits and such have acids. Pickles, salsas and things like that, peppers will have acids in them. You can use a pressure canner, but they're better. But generally you use a water bath for those, and they're just going to be boiled at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. That's boiling point. Whereas a pressure canner gets to 240 degrees, which is hot enough to sterilize the jars and the foodstuffs and seal them properly so that there's no botulism or anything like that. So that's the difference, and that's pressure canning.